not good in composition, and vice versa. And in the past, the very kind of regimented system tried to make everybody look the same, and some people suffer. Like this movie director, Leon, he's not very good in math, but he has imagination, he's a good artist. But he was forced, even his father forced him to follow a certain successful path. And those people, they're very talented, but they suffer a lot in this very unified environment. That theory is good in saying that everybody has some strengths. If I'm not good in math, then maybe I'm good in art, so we have different talent. And which means we have to tolerate, we have to have diversity. Isn't that wonderful? That's what I call political correct. So teacher embrace it. So you no longer have to force some people, which is good to a certain extent. Except, you can change. I don't mean to force an artist to become a mathematician, but at least you can help the artist to survive in school and have a better, happy childhood. Okay, learning is supposed to be fun, but no, it's a torture. It's like pouring the root canal. It's painful, but you have to do it, so you want to get over with it as soon as possible. It doesn't have to be that way. Okay, so it's popular in American society because it's said diversity. Isn't that wonderful? True, there's still diversity, but not that way. You have visual thinking, and then if you're interested in art, you have filled with knowledge in art, and you're doing very well there. And if you're good doing literature, then you don't have to do deep in science, but you still have to know a little bit of science. At least it's not so scary. Okay? And you have a more happy school life. Okay? That's my opinion. But the point is that I think it's actually limit the system. It put a limit in, and I think it's a wrong theory. Any other question? Where are you from? Okay, I want to know which country you came from.
Oh.
I'm from
Indonesia, okay. Please.
I want to ask that as many foreign schools, they use iPads as their textbooks, and I think there are many photos or some multimedia in those devices. Do you think in that way it can help students learn better and become more creative?
That's a wonderful question. Okay, I think if you use it correctly, it's good. Okay, but there's a problem. Okay, in fact, I gave the warning in a 2003 paper 10 years ago. I'm not against computer. Okay, however, computer has a problem. Even though there's a lot of picture, but you access the information only one frame at a time, and you have to use a link to jump. Okay? Whenever I read something beyond 2 pages, I always print out because I can browse it, I can go back and forth. In computer, you could do that too, but not as convenient. In the long run, it might cultivate you into this, what I call sequential processing, which could be harmful. I say could be harmful, but if you know about it, avoid it. Anything beyond 2 or 3 pages, print it out. People say, save paper, save the tree, right? I save the tree in different ways. I print on the blank side before I take it for recycling. Okay, I'm going to print on this side. Okay? And many people believe computer is the key for education. So you begin to see those have and those who have not, like people on the East Coast, poor people who live on mountain. So for education to save, then you have to give them a computer, right? No, you don't have to. I'm thinking about doing everything without computer, but of course, you still need the computer to occasionally. I use it occasionally whenever I want to communicate or Google something, but don't trust everything on the internet. It's not crime to trust anything that's completely wrong. there's no law against it, which means you have to be able to make judgment. Of course, even the textbook could be wrong, so you have to be able to develop your own critical judgment. How could you develop critical judgment without visual thinking? I think it's impossible. Do I answer your short question with a long answer? But I think that's a very important question. Okay, I'm not against computer, but use it intelligently. You are the master of the computer. You don't want to be a slave to the computer, okay? Any other question? What country are you from? Because I'm kind of curious. Indonesia? Would you just say it out in there? I won't be able to remember, but I'd like to see the diversity. What other country?
I'm from Taiwan.
Taiwan? Korea?
No.
Philippines? Anyone? Italy? I know a little bit Italy. You know, Italians say yes, si. It's the same. You see that drug peddler, they think drug is, that portion is useful, that, effective, so you drink it. It says see, and you drink it. Remember that? Anyone from Europe, America, Australia? Speaking of pattern recognition, you prime your mind to see things. And I went to, just this January, I had a trip to Australia and New Zealand. And I couldn't recognize Orion. You know why? Orion, the constellation Orion. Because Orion was like this with the 3 stars on the belt, and on the left lower side there is a very bright star series. In Australia, it's upside down. That's why I couldn't recognize until somebody pointed out to me, because I prime my mind to the upside one, not the upside down. Any other question, any experience to share?
I have a question about Einstein. They say that in his childhood, they say that he couldn't, in the school, he have been dropped out from the school, and his parents give him a violin, and he said that it's when he's playing the violin that he discovered the relativity theory. So I'm asking that, is it that possible that maybe the music develop his, right brain, his creativity?
That's a wonderful question. In fact, I think we're planning a lecture that I'm in Chinese to the music groups October 26th. I want to talk about this Mozart effect. A psychologist in Wisconsin discovered that by exposing 35 students to exposure of 10-15 minutes Mozart's music, and their IQ score went up. Okay, but other psychologists say, hey, that's fake. It's fake. I think there's some truth. Depend on the sample you use. Sometimes your experiment may not work. And I want to explain why listen to music work. Yes, I think so. Especially music with many sounds at the same time, because you have to pay attention to many different instruments, right? Which make you cultivate a multi-track mind, not single-track mind. I think in childhood we are taught that you pay attention to one thing, not two things. Don't do two things. That turned out to be wrong. You have to be able to pay attention to something peripheral, and listen to music actually get you this habit of listening to different things at the same time. And in fact, you notice the bell of the horse, even though that's not supposed to be part of it. That's called parallel processing. Yes, I think so. And music has another effect, soothing effect. That's a different effect. And I remember when I was in high school, I went home once a week, and I like to do geometry problem. I like entertainment. It's fun, okay? But I like music, but I have limited time. So what can I do? What could I do? Listen to music and doing geometry at the same time. It worked. You may not think that I was listening to music, but if I play something unfamiliar, even though I wasn't paying attention, I pick up some, and I could think. In fact, you switch your mind. When it doesn't work, you switch your mind out and then back again. So it's helpful. doesn't have to be that quiet. You can train yourself to work in a noisy environment, you know. But the more you worry about noise, the more you couldn't concentrate. I have a student came to me and said he has attention deficit disorder with a certificate. He wants 50% more time. I said, fine, you have certificate, I give it to you. Then I interview him. No. He said he spent a lot of time trying to pay attention to make sure there's no noise. No wonder he couldn't concentrate. You see, there are many fake diagnoses. And, you know, the student is just worrying, and if you make him fun to study, the illness will be cured. Yes, coming back to music, I think it's helpful. Because you really cannot think about the use of music other than it's fun, it's entertaining, and it's spiritually good to listen. But it doesn't make you. We tend to think it's just a distraction, right? No, it may not be a distraction. You know, it's still a mystery why humans develop music and dance. Because that's not the direct activity that lets you survive. You know, hunting, of course, you can see it. If you're a good hunter, okay, and if you can run very fast, you can run away from a tiger very quickly, of course, that makes sense. If you're smart, you can make some kind of gadget, sure, that I can understand. But why music? Maybe there's this indirect effect, okay? In fact, music is in crisis because of the internet. Many people stole music from the internet, so the music industry couldn't quite survive, okay? Education is also in crisis. I think maybe they can save each other. If educators know that music is good for students' mental development, you can save music. They can use the music to save education. But because we find some practical use of music in education, maybe we can save the music industry. You know, stealing, they think they get it for free, right? But if the musician couldn't make a living, they won't make it anymore. You won't have anything else in the future to steal. But people usually don't think far ahead. It takes visual thinking to think far ahead. What is the consequence? What is the consequence? Everything has a consequence, okay? Did I answer your short question with a long answer, sometimes even irrelevant? Sorry, that's my habit to wander off. Okay, any other questions? You came all the way, so I think you deserve to have something that you won't be able to hear in Stanford or Harvard. I only do private tutoring in the United States, okay? Private tutoring for students, one-on-one. And it's voluntary. I don't force students to come to me. And other than in meeting, I don't make lecture, don't make public lecture, only in meeting. But here, since you came all the way to Taiwan, you deserve to have something, I hope, it's somewhat unique, okay? And if you internalize it, find it useful, in the future, you can use it to train your student. I think last year, there's a student who wrote a report. The student has a side job as a tutor. And she used it right away for her teaching. I say, good, that's kind of fulfilling my wish of training teacher. You know, use it. If it works, it's wonderful. My first dumb high achiever was no longer dumb high achiever because he learned it from me. And he completely transformed, and he now is a good teacher. Actually, he worked for a company as a director of information technology, but he has some kind of local reputation in Detroit. So some college would call him up and say, hey, would you like to give a few more lectures? And I say, sure. And he has his own way of teaching. He's very popular. And of course, I feel very gratified to have such a student. As long as it works. So the trick is work. See, it's quite interesting because somebody told me that students in Taiwan, they did not want to ask questions. I don't mean you foreign student, I mean the native born one. I thought it's not true because in the 3C class, after the first lecture, a student came to me saying, the approach you lectured, did it work on you? I said, that's a wonderful question. because he let me recall of a story that I read somewhere. A snake oil seller, just like the one I showed, hold a bottle of liquid. Say, this is a magic liquid. This liquid can dissolve just about anything in the world. Okay? Magic liquid. And one of the audience, say, hey, wait a minute. Why didn't that liquid dissolve the bottle? Immediately you knew, right? And so the student was asking the same question. Did it work on you? Can I say, no, I don't know. No, it doesn't work on me, but I know how to teach. Do I have credibility that way? No, I won't. So if you learn it, you will find yourself, your better self, okay? More creative, better self, better than you were before. Unless you're already on the top, okay, no room to grow, like Einstein, okay? Otherwise, you can have something to, room to grow, okay? So I was hoping that the student would have a more happy life if they learn this. That's why I start at the college level. In fact, I like very much to teach in, high school, junior high, because I think that'll make their life easier. And if life is easier for them, it's good for everybody. I have a very happy school life because it was the year after me that students began to take those pushiban. So I evade pushiban all the way. They are chasing me, but after that, young people are not that lucky. Any more questions?
Any more questions?
Let me mention something. I have a segment which I don't have with me, showing how dancers learn dancing. They are not memorizing. I think this is society emphasizing memorizing. No, it turned out that when dancers dance, they learn it as a whole together. So if you wake up a dancer in the middle, that good in code 9 and dance the step for the dancer will have no idea what are you doing. But once the music kicks in, it came alive immediately, make the connection. So I get a short, about 5 minutes, PowerPoint. And then one of the 3C students, he wrote a report, and that really touched my heart. He said he's a drummer, jazz drummer. And there's some simple reasons, some very hard, complicated reasons, okay? And then he's a bottleneck that he couldn't get through certain technique. And then he said, after listening to my lecture, he changed his style. In the past, he just go directly to look at the score and music, the sheet, and then practice, try to see if he can practice hard work to get through the bottleneck. And so after listening to that 5 minutes PowerPoint, he changes the strategy. He said, no, it's not. It's music first. Listen to the music until it's so thoroughly assimilated. And then he started to play the drum. And he said, then miracle happened. He got through the bottleneck. Okay? And when I saw things like that, I am very happy because not only the student listened to the lecture, but he's put it to good use for himself, and he become a testimonial for how effective that is. You learn it as a whole, even in language. I don't memorize the vocabulary. In fact, I did not even want to look at the dictionary. Sometimes I saw lazy. Because you can figure it out from the context. As a result, something miracle. There was one 小留学生, some young Taiwanese who had high school in Michigan. And he wrote to me, so he had never saw anyone age over 30 who has such a rich vocabulary. I said, what? I never memorized the vocabulary. How could I have rich vocabulary? No, it's not. It's not. It's because I learned English as a whole sentence. So I knew the semantic. I knew which occasion to use what. I still make a grammatical effect, as you probably notice from time to time. I know how to use what word and what occasion. And they give an impression as if you knew a lot of vocabulary. It's not. It's just know how to use it. But if I don't know semantic, I use the wrong word and people think you have poor vocabulary. Actually, you memorize a lot. And this, I recall one story which I might as well tell you. There's a guy named, what's his name? Very famous, the name suddenly escaped me. He is a very popular science writer, Stephen Jay Gould, that's the name. And in an interview, he said people thought he knew a lot. He said he's really not. He's just like average. He did not know a lot. But he used 100% of what he knew. Okay? He said most average people use maybe 20% of what they knew. But he used 100% of it. And they give the illusion as if he knew 10 times, 100 times more. And I want to share with you this story. Learn things as a whole. And if you know how to use it, it's like you knew 10 times more. Of course, it's not something for you to show off. But I always think that knowledge I cannot use is not mine. So what's the point of memorizing, which means torture? And I'm very sympathetic with young Taiwanese children. And they came out with this 12 years compulsive education. And everybody, including the parent, most of the parents, they're scared and then they don't know what to do. I'm very sympathetic. But the trouble is, you see, if you want to solve an education problem, you have to get into this creativity theory. But to solve the creativity problem, you have to get some inspiration from education. But the trouble nowadays is that research is so specialized. If I'm doing this, I don't do that. If I do research, I try to get away with teaching as much as I can, right? That's unfortunate, okay? Or if I specialize in math, I don't need to know anything about law, economics, and so on. And I even jokingly saying that if I'm an eye doctor, maybe I should have the guy saying, I'm seeing only the right eye. If you have that eye problem, go see someone else. Too much specialization. So maybe it's too much. I start to give you something you don't need, or maybe something you don't want. So I'd like to thank you again for attending. I'm happy so many of you are showing up. I expect to have 3. If 3, I can give a picture. 2, okay, I'll give it. 1, let's go to the bar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I do have some announcement here. Because Professor Hong come back to Taiwan, and he do have a lecture in 3C Center for Tuesday morning, and he want to have 2 special presentations. One is for foreign students, is today, and another one is two weeks later, still here in the morning, and he want to present something for the music lovers. So suppose anyone who are interested in music, just welcome here. 2 weeks later is the 26th of October. Okay, so we just give another big hand to Professor Hong because he's a very good presentation to all of you. Thank you. Okay, suppose you do have any questions, just welcome to come forward.
You can email me.
Yeah, as you.